There has been significant progress in the world of car manufacturing, and this could have a large impact on the affordability of the average vehicle, but maybe not quite as much as we'd hope. According to KBB, the average price for a car has reached $40,000 for the first time ever. And though prices are beginning to let up, we aren't anywhere close to where we need to be for prices to return to pre-pandemic levels. But just yesterday, a bill passed that could give us some much needed relief when it comes to the insane car prices. You see, used car prices started to increase during the pandemic, but then absolutely skyrocketed in the summer of 2021. And though there are a number of different reasons as to why prices rose, the main reasons can really be attributed to vehicle manufacturing, specifically in relation to the manufacturing of semiconductor chips. When the pandemic hit in 2020, demand for virtually everything fell virtually overnight. Okay, maybe not overnight, but within a few weeks. The stock market tanked, people lost their jobs, businesses closed, we had to stay at home in lockdowns, and thus we couldn't buy new things, like vehicles. The future of the new car industry looked extremely bleak. So as a result, car manufacturers had to make some very important moves. Car manufacturers across the board started scaling back their vehicle production, and they started canceling orders for components needed for vehicle manufacturing. This included their future and current orders for semiconductor chips, which are a needed component for any vehicle on the road. Because vehicle manufacturers believed that vehicle demand would stay low for an extended period of time, they adjusted their outlook, their production, and their orders of all things related to vehicles. And this especially had an impact on semiconductor chips whenever they canceled or lowered the quantities that they wanted to order from the semiconductor manufacturers. They did all of this to keep up with what they believed to be significantly decrease in demand. But the problem is, demand didn't decrease. It actually rose. In response to the pandemic, the Federal Reserve lowered interest rates, making it cheaper than ever to borrow money. Dealerships began offering insane incentives like $0 down and 0% interest. And on top of this, the government had a wide variety of programs that were implemented throughout 2020 and 2021, including increased unemployment as well as stimulus payments. This made people more flush with cash than they ever would have been. All of these factors combined created the perfect storm that sent vehicle demand through the roof. The problem, though, was that vehicle production couldn't keep up. Manufacturers had already slowed down production, semiconductor chip orders had already been canceled, and semiconductor chip manufacturing overseas was not moving fast enough in order to meet demand. As a result, the supply available for new cars tanked and demand absolutely skyrocketed. And as a result of that, new car prices went through the roof and used car prices followed suit. This, in summary, created the new and used car disaster that we've been experiencing for the last year or so. And sure, vehicle manufacturers have tried to do their part in increasing vehicle manufacturing without the chips that they need to really do it efficiently. For example, throughout 2021, Ford was producing trucks, rolling them off the assembly line, and then promptly parking them in massive parking lots while they waited for the chips that they needed. Some manufacturers took away certain features like lumbar support, heated seats, autopilot, and the USB port. And other manufacturers simply delayed or postponed production altogether. But these temporary fixes weren't really solutions, and they certainly weren't going to help long term. Over the last 2 years, we've learned a lot of valuable lessons, and one of those valuable lessons comes in the realm of vehicle manufacturing and production, and that is that there needs to be some sort of safety net in place so that this type of disaster never happens again. Yesterday, the House passed a $280 billion bill called the CHIPS and Science Act, and in this bill, $52 billion would go to microchip manufacturing to incentivize construction of domestic semiconductor fabrication plants to make semiconductor chips. This also includes tax credits for these manufacturers as well. This bill has already passed in the Senate, so all it does is need to be signed by President Joe Biden, and this will be acted into law. According to the White House, the United States used to make nearly 40% of all semiconductor chips, but today we only make about 12% of the world's semiconductor chips, despite the fact that semiconductor chips are a necessary part of many of the electronics that we use on a day-to-day basis, including our phones, our computers, cameras, and even our cars. Now, it has been a long time since I talked about political legislation on this channel, and I'm certainly not going to begin doing that again today. But I did want to talk about this because no matter how you slice it, this is good news for the automotive industry. Relying less on foreign countries to manufacture the things that we need in order to function as a country is always a good thing. Investing in domestic manufacturing is a win. And the hope here is that increasing semiconductor manufacturing on domestic soil will not only help prevent this same thing from happening again in the future, but it will also help alleviate the price hikes that we're seeing today. But despite the fact that this is good news all the way around for domestic manufacturing, the problem is I don't know if this will have the impact on car prices short term like many of us are hoping for. In fact, I would be willing to bet that it almost certainly will not. The chip bill is an overall long-term investment to increase domestic manufacturing to prevent this type of bottlenecking issue from happening again. But it is of course also a way to bring semiconductor manufacturing in-house on domestic soil. The problem though is that this isn't a short-term solution, and right now car prices are a very short-term problem. It's going to take years for chip manufacturing to ramp up to the point that we begin to see that trickle-down effect reflect on car prices that we are wanting to buy as consumers. Not only do manufacturers need to build out the facilities in order to produce more semiconductor chips, but they also have to begin the actual manufacturing of them. And I predict that it will be years down the line before we really begin to see an impact that this will have. This bill is going to help ramp up chip production, which in turn could help ramp up car manufacturing. But the problem is that this is a long-term play, and it's going to take years and years to really begin to see the trickle-down effect that increased production of chips will have on the increase in production of cars, which will then decrease the price of the cars that we're wanting to buy as consumers. And this is assuming that car manufacturers want to produce more cars. And I know that I've talked about this in a number of different videos, but the other fact is that manufacturers have already come out and said that they will not increase production to pre-pandemic levels. The reality is this chip bill is great news for chip producers, and it will give them the ability to produce and manufacture more semiconductor chips, which will then in turn give car manufacturers the opportunity to produce more cars. But the real question is, will they? And unfortunately, we don't know the answer to this. But what we do know based on the evidence and what manufacturers have said directly from their own mouths is that though this bill will probably offer some relief and it will definitely offer more manufacturing options, it probably won't have much of an impact on the actual price of used and new cars today. Because relief with semiconductor chips won't come from this bill for at least another year or so. And even when production numbers do ramp up with semiconductor chips, it's unclear of how much, if at all, vehicle manufacturers will ramp up vehicle production in order to meet demand. At the end of the day, if you're somebody who's interested in buying either a new or used car, I certainly wouldn't hold my breath for this bill to start having a significant impact. But the reality is car prices are beginning to decline, and they probably will continue to decline through 2022, 2023, and 2024. So things are on the up and up. Price decreases aren't super obvious on a consumer level today, so if you're in the market for a new car, I still encourage you to wait as long as you possibly can, because I think as we get closer to the end of 2022 and the beginning of 2023, we will see more and more relief with both new and used car prices. But with that being said, you guys, I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, comments, if you have anything to add, I would love to hear it, so make sure to leave a comment down below. And while you guys are at it, make sure to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell, and I'll see you guys in the next video.